Hey there, creators. Welcome to the Dear Creator YouTube channel. I am Danny Daniela. We are on a self-awareness journey. If you decided to click on this video, you are in for a surprise because it's game time. We're going to play a game using content from the internet, content that's controversial, content that just seems really interesting, content that inspires us to create better content for the world. I'm not really sure how this is going to play out each time, but that is the trial and error of it all. So today I found a piece of content from online that I was inspired to create for. There you go, that complete sentence, I think. Today I found a content on the internet. I thought it was interesting and I'm bringing it to you guys so that we can play a game. A self-awareness game, more like self-assignments, not too much fun, but it's fun for me if you like to think and you like to look at stuff on the internet and use your mind a little bit more. You might find it a little fun here. But this is an engaging this process. This is something that I want to invite people to give their honest feedback, tell me what they like, tell me what they don't like. But mostly I want you to practice mindfulness when you are using your words. You can always say something that you like or say there's something that you don't like without being condescending. If you want to get your message across, it might be helpful if you use your language in the most effective way possible. So I'm here to practice that and I'm inviting you all to do the same. What is the piece of content again? It's the He Gets Us ad. Why did I choose this ad? I was looking on the internet and I came across someone's commentary about it and I said, wow, this person is really upset about this ad, but I don't get it. I don't understand why this person is so angry about this ad. It looks harmless. It looks like it looks like they're bringing people together. Maybe I'm missing something. So now I'm becoming a detective. I'm doing my discovery questions. I'm going to go analyze some other pieces of content on the internet to see if I can get close to an understanding on why this particular content creator was so upset. I'm going to look at someone else's opinion about it that was into the ad, someone who wasn't into the ad, someone who was borderline, someone who was inspired, someone who was inspired to create something else, and then lastly, someone who's giving us a little bit of backstory. I'm going to take you through that journey with me. After each creator presents content, I do have a question for you. I'm interested in just playing this out as a game. Let's watch this ad together.
Don't ask me what you know is true. Don't have to tell you I love your precious heart. I was standing, you were there. Two worlds collided, and they could never tear us apart. We can live for 1,000 years.
All right, so we just watched the ad. I have a few questions for you before we go into the other creators and their commentary about the ad. But here's a little framework for you. I'm looking at the source of the big conversation, the controversial topic, the problem. Okay, I'm going to the source. I'm just finding a little bit of background, not a lot. I'm not digging into everything about the He Gets Us campaign, but I'm interested because I've never heard of the campaign. I never watched the Super Bowl when this ad came out or whenever it came out, but it looks like there's some history of the He Gets Us ad. It actually started a long time ago and had a different name. But I went to the About Us page, and what I would urge you all to do, or I encourage you all to do, is look at this page and maybe read this entire paragraph, but I'll start with the last two just for the sake of time. It says, we will make mistakes like anyone with a public message or who sets out to share an idea. We won't always get it right. Expect us to be human. The campaign exists to remind us of the example that Jesus set while inviting all to explore his teachings so we can all follow his example of confounding unconditional love because he gets us, all of us. Now, on the surface level, friends, On the surface level, it looks like someone is just sharing an ad about Jesus. And we live in a world where people might believe in Jesus, they might not believe in Jesus, they might believe in other things about Jesus, they might believe that there's all these controversial things about Jesus. And at the end of the day, if we look at the surface of it, I'm not sure if this piece of content does harm, but I could be wrong. And I'm very, very interested. I'm interested, America. I'm interested, America. I'm so interested in the surface level of this ad, how it is harmful to the people. Because maybe it's because of my background. I grew up in church. I grew up with Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I grew up with an understanding that the behavior of Jesus doesn't really harm everyone, even people that thinks they that were even people in the Bible who were against Jesus. He really had the receipts to show that what they were doing was like out of whack. So I'm just a little confused. Again, when I first saw the comments about the ad, I went to go look at the ad and I still didn't get it. If this is your first time watching the ad, if it's not your first time watching the ad, I want you to kind of clear your mind from any of the commentary that you heard. And me too, I'm clearing it. Clearing my mind of any of the commentary that I ever heard. Okay. And then I want you to really just look at the ad itself and you tell me in the comments answers to some of these questions. First, what emotions or thoughts did you experience while watching the ad, and why do you think it was designed to evoke this reaction? Now, how does the ad use visual and textual elements to communicate its message? Consider the symbolism, the music, any text or narration used. And then without considering external opinions again, or additional information yet, what do you believe is the primary message or intention of the ad? How effectively do you think it communicates this message to its intended audience? What we're going to do now is we're going to look at someone else's commentary who said that this message was deceptive. Then after we watch it, I'm going to present to you a scenario, a little game, a little assignment that you can choose to play, or you could just watch me tell you about it and just watch me go wiggle, wiggle, wiggle on the screen. Or you can open up your journal and you can start applying this to your self-awareness journey. Because why are we doing this? I've noticed that I've come to the internet of places, and sometimes I'm inspired, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, my head hurts so much. Sometimes I'm sad. I'm so sad. And I don't ever want to get on the internet again. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, the world is just okay. So what I'm saying here is that there's so many emotions that are pulled from the internet. It's the content and the consuming of the content. I know that I want to get back on the internet, but I want to be better equipped. So I want to practice this with you all. When you go back to the internet and you consume this information, how can you maybe be inspired to think on a good, create something good? And when I say good, I'm not just hopping is hopping a word. I'm not just chomping on, I'll do chomping, I think that's a word. This idea that everything should be lollipops and gumdrops. What is actually going to better the human kind? What's actually going to better ourselves and the experiences we have with other people? Applying some of these things that we criticize or we judge on the internet to our own lives in a way that inspires us to be better might be helpful. But we're going to play around with it a little bit. Okay, now let's play this first ad. So this creator's point is that this ad is deceptive. We're going to listen to the creator's commentary, then we're going to come back and I'll have the assignment.
Funny how the ones that don't know him speak the loudest about him. If you're in your feelings and in your emotions and in your flesh, this commercial would be very cute. You actually would be moved by this commercial. But in fact, if you know Jesus for yourself, if you have the Holy Spirit, you would know that this commercial is deceptive. Let's just be very clear. Jesus didn't wash everybody's feet. He washed his disciples' feet. Those that count the cost, pick up their cross and follow him. And the he gets all of us part, let me be very, this is how deceptive it is. Jesus gets you, absolutely. But he will not, nor does he ever accept you doing what you want to do. Remember, he is the way, the truth, and the life. No man gets to God except through him. Jesus said, I don't come to bring peace to the world, but a sword. I pray that if you don't see the wrong in this commercial, that you pray to God and ask him for an increase of spiritual discernment. Because remember, Jesus said that many would come in his name. Sure, this commercial shares his name, but it ain't him. It's half truth, not the whole truth. And half the truth is a lie. This is deception.
Now we are going to reflect. We're going to reflect on what happened here when this creator decided to provide commentary on the He Gets Us ad. And here's the assignment that I have for you. So first, I'm interested in your perception of the ad after this first piece of content. Does it influence you in any way to think towards the creators or maybe go the other way? Now, whether you're on one side or the other, I want you to look for any points of bias in the ad. So we're critiquing for any points of assumptions or any biases. So, for example, when I was listening to the creator, one thing that stood out to me was there was an assumption that the ad was promoting. There was a point in the commentary when she says that Jesus gets us, but he's not really going to allow you to do whatever you want. When I watched the ad initially, so I'm comparing what my first results were and after this commentary, I didn't think that I could walk away doing whatever I wanted from the ad. So I'm interested in if that was an assumption or not, or how she came to that conclusion that that's what the ad was sharing. Because as a regular consumer in the United States of America watching this one particular ad, from my background and my behavior and my life, I just didn't come to that conclusion. Maybe I had to think about some of my background, maybe because of my relationship with the Bible and my relationship with Jesus Christ. I know that that's not something that you could just do, that you could just stop and be crazy going out here in the world. I've never received that from any doctrine. But even from this particular ad that's being shared here, I did not get that. So I'm interested in someone who's either on one side and on the other, being able to find any other assumptions that came from the ad. Now let's go into the second video. This person says they agree with the ad.
I'm a Christian who liked the He Gets Us commercial, and I feel like this is kind of a hot take. My entire For You page today has been all these Christians being super upset about the ad, saying that Jesus did not wash everyone's feet. Jesus only washed his disciples' feet. And this really triggered me, so I've had to calm down. I've recorded this a few times, and I'm going to try to say my thoughts. First thing is that story happens at the Last Supper. Now, this is the night before Jesus is going to get killed, and he's with his disciples, and he tells them, one of you here is going to deny that you even know me 3 times tonight, and another one of you is going to betray me. So Jesus knew this when he washed their feet. He washed Peter's feet, who denied him 3 times that night. He washed Judas's feet, and Judas was the guy who betrayed Jesus, which is why they were able to capture Jesus and kill him. Jesus then told all of his disciples after he washed their feet to go and do the same to others out in the world. And part of the reason why Jesus ended up getting killed and why everybody was mad at him was that he was consistently associating with people that the church and the religious leaders at the time had written off. But even more than it just being about washing someone's feet, this is a metaphor that Jesus is using. The disciples' feet are dirty, and he is washing them clean. Do you see? That's what he does with his death on the cross. So even more than Jesus washing feet of sinners, Jesus died for sinners. Not so that sinners would say the same. I'm not saying that I'm just not trying to excuse all sin or whatever, but Jesus literally went to the cross to die for our sin so that we could have a relationship with him. He's next to this other dude who's getting killed on the cross next to him. And that guy is like, I'm sorry. And Jesus is like, you'll be with me in heaven today. That dude lived a messed up life, but he repented. And Jesus was like, you will be with me in paradise. And Jesus consistently went to people's houses while they were still sinners. He went to Zacchaeus' house. Zacchaeus was a tax collector. He was hated by religious people at the time because he was doing bad stuff. But then when Zacchaeus had an encounter with Jesus, his life changed. So all sin in the Bible is equal. It literally says sin is what cuts off a relationship with God. So something that I do makes me a sinner, and something that someone else does makes them a sinner. Again, this is not to minimize sin, just to say that Jesus had to die for both of us. And so if you are a Christian who feels uncomfortable with the idea of Jesus hanging out with certain people, go read your Bible. That's what he did. I'm so confused. As a Christian, if you don't understand how Jesus was able to hang out with sinners, then I think you have pride and you think you're a perfect person and you are not fully aware of how much Jesus had to do for you because you are a sinner and I am a sinner. The fun part of being a Christian is that you're called to love everybody. And for me right now, it is really hard for me to love the Christians specifically that hated that ad. So I'm going to go work on that. Yeah. Bye.
All right, so that was the second commentary. We're going to do the same thing to make it fair. We're pointing out any biases or assumptions in this commentary as it relates to the ad. And I'm also interested in your point of view after watching this person's commentary. Whether you're someone who believes in Jesus and the Bible or someone who doesn't, we're just looking at the content for the assignment. Now, I will let you know that I was inspired by this ad to think of a new idea, because when I was first presented with the commentary about this ad, a creator online, he mentioned that there were 12 disciples that were getting their feet washed and that Jesus didn't wash other feet. And it made me think about this concept of what would Jesus do? And if we went with that argument, it seems like everyone who follows Jesus needs to find 12 disciples and do it exactly that way, instead of looking at the behavior of Jesus just washing the feet. And no one knows, at least I don't know the color of the people in the Bible. I don't know if it was a whole bunch of white men or a whole bunch of black men, or if it was all diverse. But the commentary also included that there weren't any black people who got their feet washed, which is why I brought this video to the table, because we're talking about race, religion, and relationships with ourselves and the other people in the world. And I thought, well, I think that that's a fair argument to say that it wasn't as diverse, that we should have seen a little bit of mix. There's also this point in life where humans are acting like toddlers, in my opinion, when it comes to this should be this way and this should be that way. For example, we're in Black History Month. Happy Black History Month, everyone.
Thank you so much for acknowledging that. That's like so nice.
Now, I'm an advocate that history should be very history-like. It should be all of the history, and it should be shared history. When I saw this video and I thought about the other video, I'm having all this content merged together. There's another video that I saw on a parenting page, and the parenting page says, my child asked me, why is there not a White History Month? Which is a fair question from a child, because separating this Black History Month is questionable. Like, it should be all year round. We should just have it all diversified throughout the whole history, okay? The whole history throughout all the months and all the years. It makes sense. But the way that this person responded made sense as well.
Well, if you think about it, most of what we learn about history comes from a white perspective. When this country was founded, white people put themselves in charge. So who do you think was writing the history books and deciding what was important enough to remember? Yeah, white people. Of course, there were other people doing things and creating history during those times, but people of color were enslaved, denied rights, and intentionally shut down. Their stories just weren't listened to. So still today, every American learns about the founding fathers and other white leaders. We hear about brave white folks discovering the frontier, even though there were already people here. And a lot of the things around us, like roads and buildings and awards, are named for white people. Black History Month is special because it reminds us to keep learning more about history from perspectives we don't already hear and see every single day. The struggles and achievements of Black people are a huge part of our country's story, and we need to see the whole picture to understand our whole history.
I don't know if you guys have been here living in America and looking at the history, but there's been a history of people being very, very, very mean to another group of people. And those people are descendants of those mean people. And then on the other side, there are people who have been treated horribly, not in a humane way, for a very, very long time. And they are also descendants of people who had it worse than them. When we think about, the history of life, you have your mother before you, your father, and go back, like a little history thing. And there's this assumption that you are carrying those same traits from your forefathers. And there's not any change on both sides of the equation. And although I'm not a history teacher and I cannot go into this in a very thoughtful way, just on a surface level, just as I look out into the world, I see little toddlers in big human bodies. It's almost like, hey, that's not fair that we got all these advantages for all these years, or our forefathers did, and we are reaping those benefits. They can't have that month. They can't have a commercial where they aren't getting their feet washed, even though we had commercials showcasing people that look like me all the time. They can't have that. And I agree. That's probably very true. And I feel like I'm getting condescending again, or like, what do you call it? Sarcastic. I'm not trying to do that. I really wanted to go into this video and not even mention that again, but my spirit said, say it, Danny. I'm going to just go on to the next clip. But again, we are looking at that last clip. Let's bring it back, class. We're looking at that last clip. Did you find any assumptions or biases as it relates to the way that she shared her commentary? Let's go into the third one. This third one is someone who's on the fence. They're on the fence about what they just saw, and they are presenting this to us. So let's watch to see what they said.
Talk about the He Gets Us Super Bowl commercial. Came on TV last night while we were watching the Super Bowl, and immediately my friend and I looked at each other and said, this doesn't feel like God. And while yes, it paints a beautiful message, it's not a biblical one. Jesus did not wash everyone's feet. He washed his disciples' feet, the ones who picked up their crosses and turned from their sin. And look, we are all broken, we've all fallen short, and we have all made mistakes. But the picture that the He Gets Us movement is showing is of lukewarm Christians who would rather paint their own picture of Jesus than turn from their sins. They're choosing the world over the gospel. They're choosing their sin over sanctification. They're choosing to partake in this world rather than be separated from it. Jesus did not come to this earth to make friends. He came to share the gospel, the truth, and do it boldly and unapologetically. Jesus came to lead people to eternal freedom. Yes, the Bible tells us to love. Yes, Jesus asks us to forgive, but what he doesn't do is command us to condone a life that glorifies sin. This new age spirituality is painting a false narrative of the kingdom of God in the name of political gain. Not everyone who says they're a Christian will get into heaven, and that is a terrifying reality. We will hear one of two things at the end of our life. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Or depart from me, I never knew you. We are called to be in this world, but not of it. You cannot have your sin and also walk the straight and narrow path. Yes, Jesus gets us, but he would never willingly dine in our sin. He would lovingly call us out of it.
I'm going to play one more that's in the middle before we go into the assignment.
What camp do you fit into? The one that says, yeah, Jesus probably would have been doing those sort of things metaphorically. He would be loving his neighbors of other faiths. He would be caring less about borders and more about neighbors. Or did you say, I love Jesus and I love that he washed the disciples' feet, but he wouldn't be doing that with those sinners because he doesn't look upon sin with any tolerance at all? Or did you think, man, I don't care what you think about Jesus, that was a lot of money that could have been spent doing things in his name? I was happy that Jesus's message was part of the discussion when I feel like our country really needs some unity. His message was one that united. I feel like we're super divided. So I personally felt that feeling. I also felt the feeling of there's probably a lot of great things that could have been done with the same money that it took to produce it. And just for the record, I don't know who produced it. I don't have any affiliation with them. Maybe they're crazy people and that they do these sorts of things all the time just to get more money to buy airplanes with. I don't know. But let's civilly talk about it. What'd you think?
Thus far, we watched someone who's totally against it, someone who agrees. Now we watch two creators that are pretty much on the fence. I think the first one had a little bit more emphasis on one side or the other. Now it's your turn to really just tell me what you think about the ad. So now we have the ad itself that we watched together. We watched commentary for someone against, someone for, and two people on the fence. But how does this ad align with your personal beliefs, or how does it not? And what do you think that source is? Why do you think that you believe so passionately for the ad or against it? Or if you're indifferent and you don't care at all about the ad, you're just scared because you want to see what's going on at the YouTube channel, okay? Engage in the comments. Tell me just about looking at a particular ad online. How do you think this position of the ad, how do you think the position of your own world and your own life and your own feelings allow you to agree or disagree or like or not like the ad? Let me know in the comments and tell me your sources. So let's go into this next one. This next one is a satire. For this one, we're looking at someone who was inspired to create. That's how passionate they were about this ad. They were inspired to create something. And to me, it's a satire, but you let me know if I'm just looking at something crazy. I don't have no idea what's going on. But let me know in the comments what you think this ad is. And I'll also give us a little assignment if you decide to choose this one for your journal assignment. I know you guys are all journaling. I just know that you're like, oh my God, I came here on YouTube to go through all these commentary with this girl so I can journal. I know it. I'm so excited for you. and for me. Is it a satire? I think it's a satire. Satan, he gets us. Satan, he gets us. And when I'm looking at this ad, I'm thinking, oh, wow, the creators of this ad really wanted to bring across a message. What do you think that message is? Let me know in the comment. What exactly do you think that message is? And you know, this all seems very elementary, right? We're like, hey, tell me what you feel, what you think. But we haven't been practicing just really stopping, reflecting, and pausing and typing out in a very critical and mindful way why we think the way that we do. Where do those feelings and inspirations come from? Because when I look in the comment section in today's internet of America, I understand why therapy is a booming business. I understand why we need to fill up the churches or the humanitarian centers or anything that allows us to just work on it. Just work on our thoughts. Think on the good. Practice thinking on the good, okay? Having a better conversation than we are having in these internet streets. But I might be making assumptions. You guys, let me know if I need to be corrected. I don't know. Maybe it's just my feed. Maybe people are just coming to my feed and I'm looking for the worst. I do see good. Now, here's what I want us to take away from the Satan He Gets Us ad. I have a question for you all. What's the emotion that you carry after watching the ad? Maybe you don't have any emotion. I would like to know in the comments. Maybe you're nervous. Maybe you thought like, wow, that was really good. What emotion did you carry from the ad? And then my next question is, how does this new ad or this satire ad help you better understand the original ad, or does it? What does it create in you? What does it inspire in you? What message are they sharing? And does this message that they're sharing, the way they share, help the world anyway? And we could say the same thing about the first ad, but this assignment is just for this one. I'm interested in what you're thinking in the comments. Now, here's our last creator. Our last creator, I'd like to call the backstory creator, where they're giving a little bit more context to what's going on in this ad from their research, from their discovery. I'm going to watch this ad with you all, and we're going to come back with our last question, and then we'll be done for today's session of critical thinking and applying it to our self-awareness journey. Let's look at this last one.
On the He Gets Us campaign. It's real bad. There's been all kinds of great reporting on this. My favorite is the Texas Observer. Google it. Lots of links and details there. So we saw the ads. Jesus doesn't teach us to hate. Yes. Go to the website. It says, we're not right or left. And you're like, wait, why do you have to? Okay, but yes, we're not. Yes, but. And it was $100 million campaign that was supposed to be 1 year when it first started. Now it's $1 billion campaign. And when there's that much money, you have to ask yourself, where is that money coming from? It's not good, guys. Most of it comes from an organization, donor advice fund called the Servant Foundation, that is doing business as the Signatory. And they are an organization that doesn't have to disclose who their donors are, but they do have to disclose who they give money to. And we actually know who one of their donors are because they patted themselves on the back. We'll get to the donor in just a second. But guess who they give money to? They gave $16 million to the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is listed as an anti-LGBTQ hate group by the SPLC. Then millions and millions of dollars to anti-abortion groups that, spread all kinds of abortion misinformation and, stuff like that, with a healthy dose of religious guilt and shame. I mean, basically, they just fund super conservative, super religious groups, right? But that donor that we know about is the one and only David Green. the person co-founder of an organization called Hobby Lobby, who, by the way, is also a source of all kinds of personal arguments that I got to have with people in my megachurch, because I would refuse to allow any of our money to go to that organization, even if we were just buying art supplies and crap for VBS. Because one of the things that that organization did was they fought, like all the way to the Supreme Court, fought so that they didn't have to pay for birth control with their health insurance. Like their health insurance didn't have to provide birth control for its employees. Like, what? So bad. And like all the other super conservative things, they do all of the things. This guy, David Green, that's his jam. Also, David Green loves him a good hate group. His donor advice fund supported 23 different nonprofits that are classified by the SPLC as hate groups. It's just money, and they're like using it to spread this message that Jesus didn't teach us to hate, which Jesus didn't teach us to hate, and all the other really great stuff, like all the stuff that when I look at it, when I see the ads and the stuff on the Super Bowl, I want to like and share and promote it, because on the surface, it's like saying the things that I want people to say about God. And it's just the money that they're getting, right? Isn't it? But, oh, they have a second site. The first site, the one that's linked to off the videos, that's all the stuff that you expect. Really beautiful, really great things that are like echoing lots of progressive and young adult values. They have another site for faith partners that tells you a little bit more about what they believe. And one of the things that they say is that all of the faith partners have to support the Lucerne Covenant. Or maybe they don't have to, that they all support it, which is like implied that they have to. So what's the Lucerne Covenant? Well, I'm glad you asked, because it is a document that outlines basically all of the most conservative evangelical beliefs in Christianity, like all the ones that like are really problematic, including the ones that prop up Christian nationalism, and all of that stuff. All of that stuff is in the Lucerne Covenant, and it's basically saying like these are all conservative evangelical churches without saying that. And it just makes me like, you're not, when you say we're not right or left, first off, that brings up red flags, because it makes me feel like you're hiding something, because they are. Like, and if you were trying to be centrist, great, be centrist. But if you're not centrist, don't claim to be that way. Don't lie about it. If you are a conservative evangelical group that's putting out ads about Jesus, and those ads are trying to echo the values of young adults, good. Just say that. Just say that's who you are. Don't lie about it. Don't cover it up, because you know that the things that you believe and the things that you stand for, and all the groups that are associated with you and funding you stand for, are actually in direct contradiction with the people that you are trying to echo their belief systems by saying Jesus didn't teach us to hate, and then taking all the money from the groups that fund all of the hate and aligning yourself with the groups that actually perform a lot of the religious hate. So here's the thing. I really like their message. I like a lot of what they're saying, but I just can't support them, because the T is they are super conservative evangelicals that are being supported by some of the just worst people and worst organizations, like the organizations that are listed as hate groups. Like, so disappointing. Not to mention what you could do with $1 million to like feed hungry people, but we won't even go there. I just thought you should know.
All right, so that was the last creator in the creator's commentary. Here's what I decided. I decided that the people who would like to be here on the channel with me are going to be thinkers. They're going to like to share their opinions. They're going to be thinkers. But I hope that if you clicked on this video and you made it this far, that you're inspired to really be a creator that shares a message in the most mindful way, that can pull from some sources, that can pull from some stories that actually can edify not only your own world, but the people around you. That is the mission here. And that seems like a lot of work, and YouTube might not be the platform, but friends, we are going to try it together. So I hope that the 1% of you out there who want to think with me, or 2%, or 3, or 47.8% of you out there that want to think with me are going to join me in the comments and choose one of these questions, because as I close out this video, I have to say that I have a lot of questions after we watched this last video. So now we're bringing it full circle, okay? We watched the video and now we get to the end where we have this person sharing backstory of the video. Off the top of our heads, I want to know if this backstory presented by this creator called the Skeptic Pastor adds any additional insight. Does it change your mind about the ad? And I know we had that question a few times, but now it's with a different level and a different layer, okay? Now, as we go through that process and we think about if it changed our mind, it's going to be important for us to answer these other questions that I have for you on the screen. Now, you don't have to answer them, but I would be delighted if you would take some time out to apply this to something else that could be important to you. Maybe this particular ad is not important to you, but I would love for you to apply the same concept or the same framework when you are looking at people's content, or you're responding online, or you have feedback to give, because we want to have well-rounded communication. We want our communication to be effective. So one way that we can be effective is also just understanding, putting ourselves in a position to understand each side, and then digging inside of our own self-awareness journey and understand why we respond the way that we do. It might make us better creators. It might make us even better consumers. It's a theory, but here's what I'll let you guys leave off with. Again, how does your initial impression of the He Gets Us ad differ from your understanding after learning about the creator's intentions? Given the backstory and intentions revealed, do you find the ad more authentic, or do you find it manipulative? Do you find the revealed backstory and intentions credible? Now, this is an important one. This is my favorite one. This is my favorite one. Why or why not? Why do you find this person credible? Is it because they came on the internet and they shared all these things? Do you feel like it just sounds right? Did you do a little bit of research? I know that I didn't, because I watched the Skeptic Pastor and I thought, man, who, huh, what, where? How did he know all this stuff? How did he watch this ad and know to go all these places? Now it makes me feel like I'm just this consumer in America, just consuming content, and behind me consuming content, there's this whole other dark world behind me. Now, I'll be honest, friends, I have been in a little bubble, and I popped my bubble just to explore America, to explore what's going out there. And it's like, oh, in my bubble, you can be against someone or not agree with someone, and you can still be very thoughtful in your presentation to them. In my little bubble, it's okay for people to treat each other like they want to be treated, to love the neighbor as themselves. In my little bubble, it's okay to be happy. It's okay to live life and not be scared about every single piece of world happening. But I'm living in a bubble and I'm like, wow. Oh, wow, the world is a little bit dark and scary about everything. We should be upset. We should be mad. We can't just sit around and we can't dance. We can't sing. We can't be happy. We just have to be just for the rest of our lives until the world either gets back into place or we all die. That's what it's giving. I don't know. And I don't want to go that way. So that's why I make sure that I go in my bubble and come out a little bit to be on YouTube. Come in my bubble and come out to listen and to understand other people's perspective. But this is where I am. And this is why I'm here on YouTube. And I hope that I can find some people in this part of the internet that's just interested in thinking on the good, finding content that actually does support us, but also being in a position to understand when we are going to be consumers of all type of people's thoughts and the energy they're putting out and the perspective they're putting out, the doctrines they're putting out. We're going to have so much coming towards us. We have to really equip ourselves to be better thinkers. We have to be able to have some type of framework and some source that actually makes sense, that actually does edify ourselves, that does help support humanity. I don't think it's that difficult. Again, I've said this on this channel several times, but we are people who have advanced in technology and we have not mastered common decency with one another. We are condescending. We make fun of each other to prove a point. We completely get rid of any sources and data of why people feel the way they do. We don't understand our own childhood traumas or the way we were brought up and how that might impact the way that we act with other people in a neglectful way. And I know this is starting to sound preachy, so I'm about to leave. Because, whoa, I know that I can sound a little preachy. But friends, all I really want to do is play some games with y'all. I just want to play some games. I just want to play a little bit of games. I want us to be critical thinkers. So if you like this content, if you're interested in the content, if you think that there's some room that this could work for you guys, but you need me to edit it, maybe this is too long for us to look at one video together. But here was my rationale. I have consumed content and I've been watching and studying content all over America, in the United States of America. And I'm saying people really consume hours and hours of content of, looking at a bubble or listening to someone make sounds or listen to someone gossip about a celebrity's life forever. They spend a lot of time there. So maybe we can make space to hang out with me over here, to really just breathe, to think, to apply self-awareness techniques to the experiences from the internet. What you guys think? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. Until next time, hold on to you as much